Hello there, YouTubers. This is Agent Exeter again. And if you're watching this, I am filming this on December 15th, 2015, which is the day of the Horizons release. So congratulations for having the patience to make it this far. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown tutorial on the SRV and how it basically functions, what you're supposed to use it for. So let's go ahead and land. My last video sort of stopped basically about where I'm starting up here, which is landing and basic SRV usage of just kind of getting around. So let's find ourselves a nice little shady spot, and I will show you basically what an SRV is used for. The package instructions, I guess you could say, if this was the box features of an SRV, I guess, is basically for the explicit purpose of planetary exploration. Now, why should we care about planetary exploration? I mean, yes, it's fun, it's cool, but ultimately, gameplay-wise, what does it serve me? Well, there is the instance, or the, excuse me, not the instance, the inclusion of a new crafting system, which is called Synthesis, into the new Horizons expansion. And what that allows you to do is allows you to craft certain materials to aid you in your career without having to go back to a station for it. For example, specifically SRV refuel, SRV repair, SRV ammo restock. But more than just being a system to service the SRV, you also have Fsd injections, which allow you to have one-time range boosts, the ability to craft ammo for plasma accelerators, mines and missiles, multi-cannons, railguns, cannons and frag cannons, and AMFU refills. Excuse me. Basically, and this is actually a big boon to explorers. This one recipe right here, because one of the big demotivations for explorers to carry AFMs is that, sure, while I can repair my my modules once it runs dry, then it's useless, right? And explorers were actually coming up with reasons to carry multiple AMFUs for that exact purpose, to have more of the ammunition for it. Now you can actually use the synthesis materials and synthesis recipe to craft more ammo for that device. And that's actually a good thing, because now it allows you, the player, to be more like Scotty of the Enterprise, where instead of crawling back to Earth space dock every time you got a bump and a bruise, you can actually fix your own problems. Actually, one of those problems you can now fix that was not previously fixable before is the ability to fix your own cockpit canopy. So actually, if you actually crack the cockpit canopy, or you've actually blown the cockpit canopy, and you're staring down the barrel of, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to just die. Instead of having to embrace the sweet embrace of death, you can actually use the AMFU to actually repair your cockpit canopy now, which is awesome. You still can't repair your hull, which, I mean, I can understand why, but it'd be kind of cool if there was a way you could do it. Hopefully, maybe later down the road, they'll give explorers a way to do it where you actually have to get out of the ship, so that way it's something that has to be done on a planet with your ship standing still, or floating in space and your ship standing still. In other words, not in a situation where you can do it in combat, because I think that's one of the reasons why the MFU can't do it in combat, is for that exact reason. Or, I mean, the reason why I can't do the hull is because people are afraid that it would destabilize combat, that you could fix your hull right there in the middle of combat. So if there was some way that you could either fix your hull as a person, or maybe just make it so that the AMFU takes a long time, like a minute or 2 minutes to fix your hull, maybe that could be the balancing force, so that explorers could have access to the ability to fix their own hull while still making it useless in combat and not throwing off combat. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Alright, so let's get into the SRV and introduce ourselves to this wonderful new toy, as well as tool. The SRV is essentially, in a nutshell, a no, that's not right. Is essentially, in a nutshell, a crawler. Think of it as a like a rover. Got a cockpit, 2 thrusters, a turret, and 6 wheels. Well, actually, 6 axles. It's actually got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wheels. And it's kind of spider-like. Hence, that's why they call it a scarab. And it's got a room for 2 tons of storage capacity. It's a nice little guy. Wouldn't mind having a desk model or something. Anyway, okay, so let me introduce you to the 3 new devices that you might not be familiar with. The SRV dual repeater, which is essentially a gun, a mass driver weapon. The wave scanner and the data link scanner. The wave scanner is what you use to find what they call POIs, or points of interest, while the data link scanner is used to extract intel from data points you might find at man-made facilities, or downed nav beacons, or crashed ships, anything that basically information that can be extracted. Think of it as like this. The data link scanner is like, think of in Star Trek where Captain Picard orders the away team onto the ship, and he says, alright, see what you can find in their computer banks. Something like that. The data link scanner is basically able to download information from these data points, and the practical upshot of which, while it may seem as random data, it actually will create what is called a data point intel package, which is essentially, I mean, in all practicality, essentially like a bounty voucher, where it will entitle you to a certain amount of cash that the Empire will pay for. So you have this intel package, you don't know what to do with it, and but the Empire's interested in it, so hey, they're going to pay you, in this case, 4,738 credits for an intel package. And I'm assuming that there'll probably be an increase in rarity and difficulty to extract these packages, and as they become more difficult to extract, they'll be worth more money. So you can actually, in addition to actually killing things in bounty hunting, you can also become a data runner. The wave scanner is on the dash in front of you, and essentially has peaks and valleys representing different objects. Now, if I'm very quiet, you can actually hear the sound that it makes. Now, the reason why I'm being quiet is because the sound that the wave scanner actually makes is actually different depending on what you're looking for. Certain different rocks will actually make a different sound. Bronzite chondrite makes a different sound than, say, like meteoric rock. I'm not kidding. And man-made structures make a wholly unique sound that's different from the others. So basically, so in other words, you can not only navigate using the peaks and valleys on the actual scanner itself, but you can also listen in for the sound to kind of tell what it is that's in front of you before you actually get there. Most people won't care. They'll just be like, hey, I'll pick up anything and everything I come across. But if you're looking for a particular asteroid type, you'll be able to navigate to that particular asteroid type by listening for that sound. So I'm probably coming up. I think that's the sound for bronzite chondrite, or is that a man-made structure? I'm not sure. But let's find out. Now, for man-made structures, which for explorers, once you get out past the bubble, won't become an issue, but for anybody else that's either near or inside the human bubble, a perfect example of a man-made structure is a downed, crashed ship. You might find occupied escape pods. You might find a data point to scan. But almost certainly you will find sentries, robotic minions designed to protect the site. They operate on a similar function as NPCs, and the idea behind them is that you know, they have wanted. They can be wanted. They can be clean. If they're clean, you know, shooting them nets you a fine. Killing them nets you a bounty. If they're wanted, then obviously, much like normal NPCs, if you wait for the scan and make sure they're wanted, you can shoot them with impunity and actually get a bounty claim. I haven't actually tried to see if scanning them with a kill warrant scanner from a ship actually nets you a higher bounty. I'm actually curious to that. So if anybody bounty hunters are out there, might want to try that out and let me know if it actually nets you a higher bounty. I would be very much interested, and I will include it in the video and of course give you credit. But one of the main, like I said, one of the main components is the new synthesis system, and so you find it in these different rock types. Which, when you find them with the wave scanner, which before I shoot it, let me show you. It's pointing right at it. So what you do is you shoot the rock in question. It cracks it, and it drops out these little tiny fragments. Now, when I pick them up, I always like to use drive assist off, and I'll tell you why. Because with drive assist off, a lot of people have been sort of saying that drive assist on and off is the same as flight assist on and off, and that like only the truly skilled will use drive assist off, or you know, it's just driving but more difficult. Actually, I've noticed that with drive assist on, it acts more like cruise control, because you basically can set the throttle. The SRV will try to essentially maintain its speed while you're concentrating on driving or shooting or whatever. So it's kind of like cruise control. With drive assist off, you have sort of finer control, where you can inch forward or inch back, if you will, as opposed to having to manage a throttle and having to wait for the speed to zero out before you actually start going backwards. So, as opposed to flight assist off, which is used for just sort of sliding in directions without actually using your thrusters. I mean, you could say it's the same, but I mean, I've noticed that I don't switch to flight assist off as much as I switch between drive assist on and drive assist off. With drive assist on, I use it as kind of like cruising, where I'm trying to cruise between 2 points of interest, and then once I get there, I can then switch to drive assist off to like pick stuff up or turn, and kind of just do more of the fine motor control. With flight assist on, I usually fly with flight assist on most of the time. I just don't see a reason to use flight assist off, because, to be honest, as an explorer, I'm usually just moving forward constantly. I'm not turning or doing anything, and I'm usually mainly occupying super cruise and hyperspace, which obviously you can't turn it off in those modes. So again, most of my time is spent with flight assist on. The synthesis materials basically range in commonality from different planets. The different planets, I think the grades are depleted, low resources, medium resources, high resources, optimal resources, and pristine. I may be mistaken about the optimal, though. They may not have that anymore. I noticed, I think in beta 2 or 3, it was depleted, low, medium, high, optimal, pristine. So it's 6 grades. They may have lowered that to 5 grades. I'm not sure. And they may have lowered it to 5 grades even in the release. So if anybody sees optimal, again, let me know. I'll give you credit for finding it for me. Thank you. Or if you can verify that optimal no longer exists, then that's fine. Or if high has been replaced with optimal, maybe. I don't know. I haven't looked it up yet. But the overall strategy, I'm kind of coming up with the SRV for people who are just getting into Horizons, as well as people who are veterans of the Horizons beta and are going, okay, now that they have the experience, what should I do? All right, well, I've decided, or I've thought about it, and I thought, there's absolutely no reason to go out into a risky situation just for these common materials. I think what most people can do is they can spend their time on planets within the human bubble, preferably with a space station even in orbit, which is exactly where I'm at. I'm on Aravat 2, which, as you can see on my Horizons on my SRV dash. I'm on Aravat 2. The space station Cleve hub is just in orbit, and it's actually like 5,000 kilometers away, so it's actually in a very low or medium orbit, excuse me. But via frame shift, it's not that far away. It's only a couple minutes away. So what this provides me is a perfect opportunity to gather the common materials to get enough for SRV fuel, SRV repairs, things like that. Maybe even some AM/FM refills, or at least most of the materials for an AMF or AFM refill. Basically, just the common items, but mainly I'm going after SRV fuel, which is sulfur and phosphorus. And then what I'll probably do is look up a star system that's located not that far from the human bubble, that's probably got pristine resources. In the beta, I found a system that had pristine resources. I don't know if that was because it was the beta and they just put it there or made it so that it had it for testing purposes. I'm hoping it actually made it in the crossover to live. But basically, I'm basically trying to set up a concept of sort of whistle stops. Basically, going from the common area inside the human bubble that's relatively consequence-free. In other words, if I seriously damage my SRV or run low on fuel, instead of using a fuel reload, I'll just pop up to the station, grab some fuel, come on back, and then continue on. And then later, once I have that, I can have that established. I can sort of go out to where there's more, rarer materials. Ooh, we have ourselves a man-made structure and some skimmers. Go out to where those rare materials are and gather that stuff up and sort of establish that as sort of a whistle stop. Between the human bubble and unknown space. That way, one could sit there and, go to that spot on the way out on any major exploration expedition, and gather up the materials and not have to worry. So what have we here? We have ourselves a big fat lot of nothing. That was just a sentry, but I don't see any gatherables. Oh, wait, I see a cargo container. What have we here, sir? Ooh, personal weapons. Illegal in this jurisdiction. Okay, well, let's swipe it up. Alright. Anything else? Okay, well, as you saw, the sentries, as I said before, are based just like NPCs. They can be wanted, they can be clean, and if they're clean, of course, firing on them net you a fine, killing them net you a bounty. But in this case, they were wanted because I think there's some sort of little smuggler's ruin, and so those skimmers were wanted. Now, how a computer could be wanted, I don't know. I'm assuming that it's probably sort of like because you're the criminal, but because you own a drone, that drone is flagged as wanted. Because in other words, it's your property, it's working for you, it's working on your behalf. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So, so shooting a wanted a wanted drone, it can net you a bounty voucher. Which just adds to your money. So, that is basically that in a nutshell. I wish I had a data point I could scan to kind of round out this tutorial. But unfortunately, again, this is all based off of a random number generator in terms of encounters. So I can't really show you. But if you do find a data point, and it looks kind of like a orange and white box with a orange and white antenna sticking out of it, it's actually very simple. You just target the object, and then you hold the right click to scan it, and it scans, and you're done. And it will generate an intel package. From what I'm told, though, keep an eye out, because there's actually two types. There's a public and private. Private ones, if you're in an area, or if it's in a legal jurisdiction or something, can actually net you a bounty for, I guess, intruding or trespassing. The public ones I don't think net you anything, because I've scanned them several times and I've never had an issue. So we can gonna go off with that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end this video early. I was gonna do sort of a 30-minute, 40-minute thing, but like I said, because I can't just plop down a defensive point in front of me, I can't really show you. So, but it's actually quite simple. Maybe if I find one, I'll edit it into the video. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this point now. Okay, so I have found a data port to test this with. So if this seems disconjointed with the very end of the video, it's because I found it after the fact and kind of edited it in after. Alright, so basically, here we have a data port, and it basically looks like a big orange and white box with a orange and white antenna. Kind of, I don't know, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of those photo booths you see in the mall. Because there's like a little door and everything. Anyway, so, alright, so what you do is you target the data point, and you right-click, and you scan the data point. Now, some of the data points will yield a intel package immediately. Others will have this mini game where you actually have a minute or 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever to find the rest of the data points and scan them down. My suggestion when doing this mini game is actually find them all first and then scan them down, because frantically running around, while it is fun, you're probably gonna mess yourself up in doing it. So you need to be careful. There's also other things to scan in a facility such as this. Defensive system power supply. I'm not exactly sure what this does. I don't know if you attack it or you shoot it or whatever, but that's basically the data point thing in a nutshell. So I just want to let you know what they look like, how to scan them, and okay, so hope you find that informative. Okay, so if you just saw it, that means I found one and I edited it into the video. If not, then that's it. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Hope this video is informative. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to ask them. I will get to them as soon as I can, as soon as I see them. And anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you for revisiting my YouTube page. Alright, bye-bye.